Welcome to episode 1088 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, August 18th. I'm your host, Paul Spohr, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm angry.
Why is that?
I am annoyed.
Why is that?
I am indignant.
I know what you're doing. I forgot my own rule. We need to talk about the Tigers. Podcast. The Detroit Tigers do not care about winning. Fire the entire team. I've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray. We were going to do an entire episode of Stephen A. Seriously, though, why do they make him talk baseball? He doesn't know what he's talking about, man.
Why do they make him talk any sport? Like he's
I know. And we can make that joke, too. But he at least follows basketball. Okay, I don't agree with his basketball takes all the time. In fact, rarely. But you can tell he at least follows the sport. He knows the players. He doesn't know a damn thing what he's talking about with baseball. Why? Stop. Honestly, it's more insulting to do like cursory baseball stuff very poorly than it is to just ignore us. I'd rather you just ignore us, ESPN.
Well, they've got Mad Dog on the show now. I didn't even know that.
Yep.
I haven't watched that show in forever, and I saw the clip, and Mad Dog was like, "Oh,
yep." I just see the Twitter clips, and I'm like, "Wow, you really upped the game."
That's a nightmare. Imagine spending as much money as they do on them, but not being able to like re-sign actual talent.
Exactly. Like, I just don't get it, man. Come on. But anyway, we're not gonna put that pain on y'all and do a Stephen A entire episode. Plus, it's 6 where Justin is. So that's pretty early for him to do full Stephen A. And it's only 8 here. So, and it's pretty dark because you might notice usually a lot brighter. We're getting some rain, which we desperately need. So it's pretty dark here for 8 in the morning. But we got plenty to talk about. We got one batter, very beginning of the show, and then it's all pitchers. Okay, I just added it last second. We just got to talk a little bit about Brett Baty getting called up. Then we'll play a little bit of hold or fold for shallower leagues with some of these pitchers who are underperforming, some big names. And then we'll talk about some potential pitching prospects. I did a solo episode yesterday with hitters. You and I are going to talk about some potential pitchers who could come up. Let me know what you think about some of these guys. But let's start with the Brett Baty call-up. Now, one of the guys that I talked about yesterday on the hitting prospects, Mark Vientos, was leapfrogged by Baty. Baty was a very big surprise to get called up from Double-A. Not because he's not awesome, but again, I really think because of who he leapfrogged, the age that he's at, and the fact that he jumped from Double-A. But, hey, about to be 23 years old. That's not too young to be up. Hit a homer in his first at-bat. What are you looking at with Brett Baty this weekend as far as bids and the rest of his season here? Can he be an impact from here forward, or does he only play until Escobar gets back, which I don't know the timetable. I will look that up while you're talking.
And not only did he homerize his first bat, it was the first pitch he saw.
That's amazing.
Bat.
I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, he saw a fastball and just was like, "Yep, that's mine.
I'm jumping that."
Yeah, I mean, I think you make an impact. I think he's going to be the number one pickup this week in Fab. In actually pretty decent Fab week.
Pardon me real quick, 2 things. Baty was called up from AAA. I think he spent most of his year.
He spent a week six games.
Right. I brought it up yesterday, and I forgot again. That's my second time forgetting. And it's an oblique with Eduardo, which does not have a timetable. But we know those can last
4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, I mean, so
there you go.
He's got time, and
that's most of the regular season left for Baty.
Yeah, and
all right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Escobar's been bad. Like, yes, exactly. not good at all. One of my better fades of the year, right there. Baty has a decent enough hit tool that I think he hit like 250 at the major league level, and he's got legit 70 grade power. So we're talking about a guy who, like if he got hot, could hit 15, 20 home runs rest of the way in just like 6 weeks because the power is legit. The question is, how much contact will he make? So far, he's had 1 strikeout in his first 2 games. He's making good contact. He looks, natural and confident up there. Like I said, I think he's the top pickup of the week, especially at a position like third base, which is extremely shallow. I had already drafted him in a lot of DCs, so I'm looking forward to getting to throw him in my lineup today.
We saw Beatty at Fall League. Really came away impressed. Like I said, he's local to me here in Austin, so I knew a few things about him from being when he was really young, making an impact on the amateur scene, and now here he is in the bigs. And I mentioned it yesterday, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on Beatty. I agree on being the best player of the week, and he could be an impact hitter, so go out and get him. Maybe you cut one of these guys for him. That's a segue, folks. Hold or fold with some poor second-half pitchers. These are 5 names that, I'm sorry, 15-teamers, you probably can't cut. You got to ride it out and figure out what's going on with them. But 12s and 10s, you might start looking at a cut for some of these guys. Let's start with somebody who had another bad outing yesterday that facilitated a 21-run barrage by the Houston Astros. Now, Lucas Giolito did not give up all of those, but his 7 were still the most. And then Velasquez and Ruiz came in and gave up 5 apiece. And then Josh Harrison, you knew a hitter would pitch at some point in a blowout like that. He gave up 4 more. But look, Lucas Giolito, he's just not figuring it out. And he seems to turn a corner and then go right back to where he was. And it's the toughest part about all of this is the inconsistency has not been one thing. It's been the command of his pitches, but the pitch that's really bothering him seems to vacillate start to start. One start is the breaking stuff, then it's the changeup, then it's the fastball. You can't make heads or tails of it. So, I mean, these issues started before the break, but just coming out of the break, he has a 7.39 ERA in 28 innings with 30 strikeouts. Send it back a bit further. You really start looking at, coming out of or going into the last start of May 31st, he gave up 6 runs. His last 15 starts, 6.64 ERA with 81 strikeouts, 29 walks, 101 hits in 78 innings, 78 2/3 for Lucas Giolito. Are you cutting him in 10 and 12 teamers right now?
No, because his remaining schedule is among the best in baseball.
Okay.
So
give us some ideas of what we can be looking at.
His next 2 starts are at Baltimore and then at Arizona, and then I think he's got I'm double checking the ones after that, but I believe he's got the Tigers. The reason I know this is because I have Giolito.
So you've been mapping it out.
Well, in a league where I was selling that 30-team 100-man league.
Mm-hmm.
100 roster man's league. And I was trying to sell him because he's on an expiring contract, and no one would buy him from me in this league for anything close to what I wanted. And I kept pointing out, look at the remaining schedule. Like there's not like outside. Once he gets past his Houston start,
he gets Minnesota after the 2-step, and then a trip to Oakland.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Minnesota one's a little tough for Giolito, but you like everything else there that's setting up. Like you said, a trip to Baltimore. They're a good team, but that park is awesome to pitch in right now, which is so crazy to say still.
I mean, the problem here is when he is in the zone, he is just unbelievably hittable. Mm-hmm. And he's just not getting the swing and the miss inside of the zone. And so that's forced him to try to stay out of the zone. He's got the lowest zone rate of his career, which has brought up his walk rate, and people aren't necessarily taking shots at it. So, I mean, do I think it's going to get a ton better? Probably a little bit better because of the schedule, right? It just can't be this bad.
It can't get worse.
But
love Lucas, but it's tough.
Do I think he's going to turn back into an ace this year? No. I think he is, and so like, is he droppable in a 10-team league? He is droppable. It depends on your roster, right? Like if
and who you're picking up really too, because with the schedule that you're talking about, Giolito could really be at least solid down the stretch, because that's another part of the whole frustration of this is that there's been bouts of high quality still. I mean, even coming into the start yesterday, I don't want to say this is high quality. This is not one of the bouts of high quality, but it was good enough. The last 4 starts were a 4.09 ERA with 23 strikeouts in 22 innings. You talk about the hitability, though. You really keyed in on that. That's been the really tough part. It's the hits, 134 in 116 in the 3rd innings. That's 10.4 hits per 9, Justin. That's crazy. That's massive. So, Giolito, I trust him to kind of figure out what's going on. I certainly am not going to be out next year, even if the rest of this year doesn't go as planned, because I do believe that he can get himself right. I'll stick a little bit because of the schedule, like you said, but if he doesn't do well with the 2-step next week, I'm out in 10s and 12s for Lucas Giolito.
If you look at his like by pitch results on Savant, every single one of his pitches outside of even the fastball, he's giving up a batting average over 280. Like everything is getting hit. I think a lot of it comes down to just in zone command, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fastballs he's leaving over the center of the plate as opposed to getting up. The breaking stuff isn't breaking out of the
breakers.
Zone. Yeah, he's just the control isn't great, but it isn't the problem. It's the in zone command that's a huge problem. That's why you see the home run rate up a huge amount. I
completely agree.
I think he's one of those guys that just needs an off season to retool.
Might not be able to fix it on the fly here.
The hard part is if you're like in a head-to-head league, do you want to give your competition for the playoffs potentially a guy who has been an ace before,
or are you sabotaging them by letting them
potentially could be? That I'm not in any positions. Like in that 30-team league, I'm clearly not going to just drop him to the waiver wire.
Yeah.
Especially because I can give him a qualifying offer in the offseason.
That's cool that you guys have qualifying offers.
It's such a, it is such a cool league. It really is. I know some of them listen, so I shout out to you guys. Like, it is one of the most frustrating leagues I've ever been a part of, but at the same time, it is like the coolest rules. It's set up just like Major League Baseball. 26-man roster, 40-man roster, farm system. We have a Rule 5 draft. Like it just
that's the part I'm impressed with you. Is like not only do you play a lot of leagues, you play so many different ones.
I think everybody. I think if you're in the industry, you should try to do that. Like try to play.
I agree.
This is head-to-head categories. Like it's just.
I have a head-to-head league, head-to-head points league. I have a head-to-head cats league. But then mostly just wrote it. Now I have a few team sizes. I know you shaved out the 12ers, which I don't blame you for. I kind of want to do that next year. So bad at fab with those. It's impossible. It's impossible to read. I don't understand it. But that league sounds awesome. With Lucas Giolito, it's tough. It's really, really tough. If there's somebody you really like on the wire and he's your only cut, I can get behind it. But Justin brings up the schedule. I think you take a look, see if he can hold it out one bit more next week. And if he doesn't come through next week, then I'm definitely moving on. What about Pablo Lopez? Obviously, he had his amazing start to the season. We knew he would regress off that. And I got to be honest, like when he first did and people started freaking out, I was like, well, that's the regression that we all talked about. Mm-hmm. The 2 starts at the end of June. I was like, that's, of course. And that still only pushes the ERA up to 298. And then we got another couple at the end of July, and he was up to a 341, which is still fine. But August hasn't been very good. And then when you loop back to those other 2 starts, which basically puts you right back at the beginning of the return from the All-Star break, 7.20 ERA for Pablo Lopez there. The hits have been a problem for him too. 38 in 30 innings during that time, 153 whip. Now this is a much shorter period of trouble. In fact, his season ERA is only at 383. But I'm hearing a lot of chatter about cutting Pablo Lopez in 10-teamers. Are you there?
I wonder if he's hurt.
Like, I'm nervous about that, but I don't know if I can cut him.
I don't know that I can cut him either. Well, you definitely can't cut him right now because his next start's at Oakland. Yeah. But then he's got a home start versus the Dodgers. So, and that starts on a Monday, so it's a 2-start week. Are you sitting him?
He gets Dodgers at Atlanta that week.
Yeah, like you've got to sit him there. And here's the thing: like with so few weeks in the season, if you're going to sit a guy for a 2-start,
that's what I'm saying. Yep.
You should probably drop him in your 10s and some of your 12s. I love Pablo Lopez, so it's like I have a really, really hard time. But we also have to remember, like he's had serious. Recurring shoulder issues. Mm-hmm. Let's see how many innings he's got. 134 innings, which is the most of his career. You almost wonder if we'll see him get thrown on the IL or shut down, a guy with his injury history and this is kind of his biggest workload of his career.
Where the gas tank ends, somewhere in the one.
It may be.
Like you said, this is a career high. He hit 102 last year before everything fell apart with the shoulder and he was just done. And then 111 back in 2019. So this 134 is a career high for Pablo Lopez. He was having such a brilliant season. It'd be tough if it's just boom, he hits a wall and he's no good the rest of the way. Again, I can't cut this week. I got to take that Oakland start in Oakland for Pablo Lopez. But after that,
if it's not a good start, I think you have to cut.
For sure.
If he goes to Oakland,
if he fails me there,
and doesn't put up at least a quality start, you're done.
If he fails me there, I'm considering cutting Pablo Lopez in a 15 at that point because of that dastardly Dodgers at Atlanta possible two-step the following week. So I'm with you there with Pablo Lopez. But for now, hang on, give him one more at Oakland. If he throws a gem, we can start to feel better about things and reassess, but I don't know about that two-step there.
In his defense, a lot of the badness comes from 3 starts.
Yeah,
right?
That's the thing. He's just having
two of them are against really good teams in San Diego and the Mets. So
So here's the thing, though. The June ones were also the same. Also, another one at the Mets and one at the Cards. So that gives more credence to running like hell from that Dodgers Atlanta two-step, though, right? Even if Pablo Lopez does well at Oakland.
Sure.
So would you cut or let's say solid start at Oakland?
I think he's a team streamer for right now.
Ask. Yeah. Okay. So then team streamer for Pablo Lopez right now. See where he's at. Hopefully the shoulder is fine. Let's talk a little Joe Ryan. Seems anytime he has issues, it's directly related to the home run ball. That is kind of his only issue. Basically, if he's just having control and not great command and just kind of working in the zone with that fastball, it's not overpowering. So if he's not putting it where he wants, that can be trouble. A 5-homer barrage at San Diego is doing a lot of work here. Because again, I'm looking at these data points since the break. And he had another start at the Dodgers. So you want to talk about Pablo Lopez's bad outings being against the tough teams at San Diego, at the Dodgers are the reason that Joe Ryan has a 6.66 ERA, very devilish since the All-Star break. But that's 5 starts. And the other 3 are legitimately good. 5 2/3, 1 run at the Tigers, 5 innings, 1 run versus the Tigers, and then 5 1/3, 2 runs against the Royals. So, dominating the crap teams and then getting blasted in the home on the road against 2 ridiculously difficult teams. Does that prompt any sort of move with Joe Ryan, or do you just say, hey, he got by a couple good teams, I'm fine here? And also, should you have sat him for those in a 10-teamer anyway? Is he a team streamer in 10-teamers, or do you think people ate those Joe Ryan starts because of how good he'd been?
I think they probably ate those starts because of how good he's been. But I think, this is a problem with a guy who gives up the kind of fly balls that he does. It's just you're gonna get bit now and then. I'm not super worried about Ryan. The velocity is actually up, and he's shown the ability to do a really good job of keeping men off base. You'd love to see him stop putting 90% of the balls he puts in play into the air. And then, what is the number actually? It's
27% ground ball rate.
Yeah, but 56% fly ball rate. So, you'd love to see him squelch that a little bit. But
it's not his game, though. He works that fastball, and guys lift it. But a lot of times they lift it for outs.
I'm not overly worried, and he pitches in a fantastic division against the Royals, who you are sporting that sick-ass hat from.
Thank you.
And it's just not a division I'm super worried about. He doesn't. The only team I'm actually concerned by in that division is his own, so he doesn't have to pitch against them. So
I'm not worried about Joe Ryan. He gets San Francisco and Boston, his next 2 both at home. He might be a little bit nervous about that Boston one on 8/31. I would team stream it at the very least, though. I'm not putting Joe Ryan back in the pool there. That 10 runs in 4 2/3 at San Diego is doing so much heavy lifting here. He had a 2.89 ERA before that start. He almost raised his ERA a full run in 1 start. Went from 2.89 to 3.78 for Joe Ryan, but he's fine. I still love him. What I really need, though, is him to keep an ERA under 4, because Alex Fast and I had a bet on that. And, he was conceding when, on July 23rd, Joe Ryan had a 2.89 ERA, but now all of a sudden it's 3.92, and I'm sweating. And hey, I did not take any victory laps. I did not dunk on him. He was like, "Oh, you win." I was like, I'm not taking it. I'm not touching it.
Pitching changes so fast.
Yep.
And for those of you kind of worried about your ratios right now, there's still time to turn those around. We've talked about a lot about my tout team on here, which had a 5 ERA and a 2 WHIP at the end of May, and I currently have gotten 7 points out of 15 in WHIP. And I've got now 3 points in ERA. I've got them both at respectable rates, and I'm continuing to climb. And if I end up winning tout this year, it's because I worked hard to get that ERA and WHIP down. And it hasn't been by just throwing relievers in there. I'm first in strikeouts in that league too. So
damn,
it is quite possible to move ratios even late in the season. And it's the only, and you love to mention the fact that it is the only stats where teams can come back to you, right?
Exactly.
Where you can go back to them. So I think people think that the ratios can't move because you've already compiled so many innings. It is not true.
It's just not true. And who put me on that was Todd Zola, stressing it years ago. And I've been taking that message with it and putting it out there as well.
Zola's done some great work on
to show just how much, because you think about it too, those standings are usually compact. And like you said, people can come back to you. So do not give up on those. It's hard to figure what kind of points you can get from them, but just don't give up on them.
Yep.
They're not as easy as kind of going through and saying, okay, I need 6 more Ks per week than this team to pass him. It's harder to do that sort of math, but just do not give up on them if you are in compacted batting average, OBP, WHIP, or ERA standings.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up after Joe Ryan here is Nathan Ivaldi, 6.33 ERA, 159 WHIP since the break. Obviously, with him, the velo has plummeted. It's gone through the floor, and that obviously raises a massive red flag to me and scares the hell out of me with the Ivaldi. I probably would have already cut him in a 10-teamer if I'm being honest. So for me, the answer is yes right now, because I just don't think he's right. What say you about Nathan Ivaldi and his cut ability in a shallower format? For context, by the way, in his last 7 starts, he has a 94.4 velo. He was at 96.8 in his first 11. That's a 2-mile-an-hour dip in season. And that sample started 2 starts before the All-Star break. So, and he had come off of an IL stint there too. So I'm just nervous as hell about Nathan Ivaldi. What about you?
Yeah. At the end of May, he had a 97-mile-an-hour average fastball in his last start, 96.5 in his first start in June. And since then, he has not broken 95 in any average velo in any start the rest of the season. He's been dealing with this for a while, and the results show, right? He's just not the same pitcher when he does not have that velocity. The other pitches don't work as well off of it. He becomes much more hittable. You have to wonder if something is wrong physically because of just a career of injuries for Ivaldi. It's a huge
but not
bummer.
Enough to take him out. They're still letting him go out there.
You never really know. I can't remember what pitcher said the quote, but years ago, a pitcher, talked about, it might have been Smoltz. He goes, everybody's hurt. At this point in the year, everybody's hurt.
It's true.
It's just a matter to what extent.
Keep playing.
Yeah, I was. And Henry Wilson just said he was scratched, he was scratched from his last start with neck and shoulder soreness. So, there you go.
He hasn't pitched in a while.
He may end up on the IL, as well. Pitchers are gamers, man. It is not a natural motion. It's so easy for things to break down. I would have no problem dropping him in a 10 or a 12. At this point. And honestly, I would think about it in a 15, depending on what's out there. The problem is there's just nothing out there.
Yeah, if you find somebody, if you find a gem who's like 75% rostered but happens to be available in your league, maybe that's where you go in a 15-teamer, but that might be rare. Even if you look at the last 4 starts for Ivaldi and you see a 3.70 ERA and you're like, hey, that's not too bad. Comes with a 136 whip and just 17 strikeouts in 24 and a third. He's not himself. There's a disaster waiting to happen, it feels like. And you can ill afford to take those 10-run bombs really anytime. But obviously at this point in the season, there would be so much less time to make up for it. So I'd be very careful. I would not be starting him. If you want to keep Ivaldi to see if he comes out of it, I guess if you got the spot, but I would not be starting him. And because of that, I would be cutting Nathan Ivaldi in 10s and 12s.
Yep.
Our last guy, a little bit of an oldie. He's been good this year overall, but Corey Kluber may be showing a little bit of slowdown here. His season ERA is now at 4.33 since the break. He's been particularly tough. He did have a great start at the Yankees just 2 days ago.
But who hasn't?
I mean, come on. That's easy these days. But in the 5 stars since the break, even with the gem in the Bronx, he's at 6.28 ERA with a 136 whip. 29 strikeouts and 28 and a third is still good. So is this a blip for Kluber or something to be worried about?
I think it's kind of a blip. I mean, you have to take the name off it and realize who Corey Kluber is like nowadays, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's always been a guy with a bad fastball, but with like elite secondaries in pinpoint command and control. Like he's just not that anymore, right? He's a guy he's got good secondaries. And he's got good command and control. Like it's and so like there's just gonna be the in AA we have a saying like in early sobriety, like your emotions are like a heart monitor, right? Up, down. Once they level out, you're dead. And that's Corey Kluber, like, right? He's like, he's up, he's down, he's up, he's down, he's up. You get to start
ride it, right?
Yeah, I think you just have to ride it. It's a good park to pitch in. The division sucks, but like he's got a 2-step against the Angels and the Red Sox. Like I'm not probably sitting him for that.
I'm going for that, even with the Red Sox.
He's had a couple starts with in division or one against the Yankees, like you mentioned, 8 strikeouts, and he had a 10 strikeout performance against Cleveland. It's a lot of that Baltimore start like holding the water, like it was 7 earned runs that he gave up. I think he'll be fine. He'll just be the guy that he's been all year, which is like a mid-4s, maybe low-4s ERA guy.
That Baltimore start got away at the end. 4 of the runs came in the 6th inning. And what does that mean? Like, well, why do we bring that up? It's because he wasn't really dominated throughout. He was dominating, and then things fell apart. So that's pretty much been the MO this year for the most part. When Kluber struggled, it's been a 1 bad inning syndrome. So I think we can get through that. I'm not cutting him.
The hard part is the Rays are monitoring everybody else's innings, and so they're going to let him wear shit like that. Like, they're just going to be like, hey, listen, we don't care if your arm falls off because we care.
Deal, baby.
Yeah, we can only care about these young guys. So, like, in the 6th inning when you're struggling, we're just going to be like, it's you. We don't want to waste the bullpen. No. We want to be able to use them tomorrow. So, they're
died out there, guys. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. Be nice.
So, I would definitely be careful about not starting him in single week starts against really, really good teams.
He gets the Yankees after the 2-step, so you can sit that out, but team stream him. I would not cut Kluber after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I would rather have Kluber rest of the way than Ivaldi.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
All right. Potential pitching prospects. I mentioned yesterday, did a hitting prospect one. Hopefully people enjoyed that. Some guys who could come up and make an impact. This is what we're looking at here with pitchers. Now, it's impossible to know when someone's going to come up. Usually an injury facilitates it. You don't see a path for somebody, and then boom, 2 injuries happen, and then the guy's up the next day. So we're not going to be trying to guess all that. And obviously we think that the upside here would be substantial, possibly if they come up and hit the ground running. So let's talk about some of these. And again, we don't have to get into every time like, oh, this would need an injury. We don't know how they're going to get up. It might just be roster expansion, but we're just talking about the guys who, if they get called up, could be good. And I give all that preamble because this first guy I'm going to talk about is awesome, but he's running into a 6-man rotation right now. So he'd be the 7th But again, things change quickly. So Hunter Brown for the Houston Astros could all of a sudden be up, and then we're like, dang, that happened quickly. And he's been awesome this year. Hunter Brown in Houston's AAA is putting up a colossal season right now, 97 2/3 innings with a 32% strikeout rate. It does have an 11% walk rate with it, and that's a little bit high for sure, but a 2.49 ERA, 111 whip, 0.4 homer 9. I love that because he's a heavy ground ball guy. 53% for Hunter Brown for the Houston Astros. He was 86th on the top 100 coming into the season. Strong arsenal. Command is the issue. A little bit of control issues as well. He's awesome. If he was called up, would you be interested in Hunter Brown in Houston?
I think I would. I just don't know that unless there is.
No. You don't have to give the discount. No, don't worry about putting where.
No. I do because he's not on the 40-man roster. So that
no, I know. But I'm saying that's with everybody.
But some of these guys are on the 40-man roster.
Well, what I'm saying is how they get
I
there,
understand.
We don't care about.
But the thing is,
we're not just highlighting.
I don't think he's going to get there, even though he's pitching well. He's like 24. You think they're going to call up
Forrest Whitley?
Do they want to make a 40 move? Yeah, I guess they could just.
I mean, yeah, like that. And that I'm not dogging you for bringing up the 40 stuff because I love looking at that. That can be a fantasy edge for sure. But yeah, why can't they just DFA him? They also have Sean Dubin, Peter Solomon, Jonathan Bermudez, and Parker Mashinsky on the 40. And you don't even know if all those players are real. You're checking right now to see, did Paul just make up some players? Those are all real players. They can DFA one of those dudes for Hunter Brown if they deem him the guy to call up should something happen.
I mean, like his weakness coming up was command.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like he has solved that issue because he has dropped his home run rate to 0.37 on the year.
Love that.
Which is fantastic. He's got 2+ pitches. Yeah, if he comes up, then I think he's an instant pickup. You're playing with a pretty darn good defense behind you for one of the best teams in the major leagues, and an offense that is just amazing and will give you plenty of win potential.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would try to keep a 6-man if there was an injury, and
so somebody goes out, you think they would replace him with a starter instead of just dropping to a 5?
Yeah, because I think they want to protect these. I mean, they've got like an 11-game lead in the division.
Exactly, they can afford to chill.
Yeah, they don't, and I think they want to protect these guys for the playoffs. So, the only question is, and I have to let me take a look at standings real quick, like how close are? Oh, they passed the Yankees. Okay,
yeah, so, they're in
because the Yankees have been so bad. So I mean, you want the number 1 seed this year because that's the only team that doesn't have to play a first-round matchup, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe if
it's 2 teams, right? 1 and 2 don't have to play.
I thought it was just
because there's 3 wild cards.
Yes, you're right.
So the 3 wild cards would go with the other division winner, which is looking to be the Central. But yeah, Houston obviously wants that 1 seed.
Well, and then that means they've got like a 14 or 13 game lead on that 3 spot. So yeah, I think they would keep a 6-man rotation. I don't think you want to overwork Verlander, overwork Luis Garcia, because we saw what happened to Garcia in the playoffs last year when he was overworked. So
is back in the rotation this year. So I agree, and that's Hunter Brown. The 40-man move would need to come if they want to call him up, but he's having a wonderful season in AAA. I could see him being the next man up. Let's run to the complete other side of the win spectrum. This guy might not get a single win, even if he comes up and dominates. And that's Ken Waldachuk. We've already seen J.P. Sears up for Oakland. He's also from the Montas deal. But Ken Waldachuk could be the next one up. He's been having a wonderful season in his own right. So I honestly think that he should get a shot when it comes to roster expansion. For the season, he has, well, actually, I've got the breakdown. Oh, he went AA too. I didn't even realize that he went from AA into AAA. He killed AA at 24, which takes a little steam out of it because Waldichuk was 24. So I'll focus on his AAA numbers: 34% K, 11% walk with the Yankees, 3.59 ERA, 1.28 WHIP, and then so far with the A's in just 13 2/3. The strikeout rate's down to 21%, but still a 12% swinging strike, so I'm not terrified by that, and a 4% walk rate, which is a massive drop off the 11% mark, but it's 13 innings, so I don't want to make too much of it. He's been good in AAA. Will Ken Waldichuk, do you think he gets the call, and if so, would you be interested, even though he's on Oakland?
So this is interesting, because he, went from the Yankees where he was, AAA system where he was walking everybody, to the A's where it seems like maybe they're trying to get him to be more aggressive in the zone, which means he's giving up more home runs. Now he is pitching in Las Vegas, so and that is a launching pad. So I don't want to overrate the home run rate went up a huge amount, and when you get to pitch in Oakland, it's such a great park. That shouldn't be as much of an issue. The question to me is, do we trust Oakland to actually bring him up? That's, Oakland has no reason to start anybody's clock, even though I don't think he's the type of guy you worry too much about the clock stuff with.
That's the thing, and I think that they would be interested in seeing what they got here, and that goes back to our discussion from earlier in the year about this team, which I'm going to end up losing. But you were worried about a bottom out. And I was like, well, when they're bad, they don't usually go 100 loss, bottom out, bottom of the barrel, because they usually call up their next wave. By the way, I didn't realize Elvis Andrus was released.
Signed with the White Sox yesterday.
Not saying he shouldn't have been. I missed that. Pardon me.
I mean, I think for most teams he might have, should have been, but he wasn't that bad. Especially considering the rest of that team.
He had a 97 WRC plus. Credit there. 1.6.
That's got to be top 5 on Oakland though.
Probably, but you call up Nick Allen. You call up Nick Allen. Yeah. Nah, it's
if you were gonna do that, why not trade him at the deadline?
It's 7th in WAR, by the way. I don't know. That's fair. Who wants him though? Who would have wanted him?
So
they're you'll cut him for free.
Guys who can play up the middle like that, they're always
you'll cut him for free. They know teams will be nah, you guys are going to cut him. But so Ken Waldichuk, it is fair to wonder if they are going to call up another piece, because JP Sears had already been up, so maybe they felt that was pretty easy to do. We'll see what happens with Waldichuk if they decide to call him up. But he is, by a lot of people, he is the better piece than JP Sears in that deal. I'm a big JP Sears head, so I lean towards Sears, but Waldichuk is right there. Let's talk about a guy who we've seen before, and it did not go well initially. But a lot of KC prospects, believe it or not, should not have been judged off the 50 innings of bad work that they had. We're seeing some turnarounds from Brady Singer, Daniel Lynch, and Chris Bubich lately. Can Jackson Kowar do the same thing? He had a nice season. He's had a nice season in the minors this year. He's been up a little bit again this year in the majors, and it's been awful yet again. But you look and listen, I'm not going to get hung up on a PCL ERA. It's 5.79, but I look at the skills and I see he's getting strikeouts back, 75 in 65 2/3. And sometimes you see these guys struggle at AAA. They're working on different things. The teams are still confident in bringing them back up. It's been such outsized awfulness in the 46 innings from the majors. I don't want to make too much of it, but it's been really bad for Kowar. Can he recover from this? And do you think he gets a call down the stretch for KC?
I am baffled. I am befuddled. Dare I say I am bewildered by the fact you would bring up Jackson Kowar on this podcast. I mean, you originally wrote Jackson Coward.
I did,
and I think that is a better use of his name, because he is a coward in the zone. He gives up too much contact, and it is hard contact. That's the best I could do.
That was pretty good.
Shout out to Draft Cheat for egging us on for this. But no, I don't want him. Yes, his strikeouts have come back, but everything else is still the same, which is bad. He has a 1.53 WHIP in AAA this year. He's given up his home run per 9 in the majors is 0.23. in the minors is 1.52. Like,
is that not good?
No, like this is the exact opposite of guy you want. You want other people to pick them up. Okay. So
you want to bait people into picking up Jackson.
Yeah. Have people listen to Paul's intro on Jackson Kowar and then turn it off and be like, "Oh man, I wonder how much fat he's going to go for this."
Look, if you wonder why I even put him on the list, I was going through sorted by strikeout minus walk rate. He's 16th in AAA in strikeout minus walk rate. So I was trying to heed the skills with Kowar and not get too hung up on the results, but they are bad, and he is a home run machine. And that has taken place in the majors too, with 11 homers allowed in 46 innings. It's like, is there any hope for Kowar as a starter?
I mean, a guy this young and talented, because he is talented. Like there is a lot. Like the stuff is good, but
he's getting there.
I don't want to say that there isn't, but I think he profiles better as a power reliever, where he could potentially be, a guy who's a 7th, 8th inning, or maybe even a closer on a bad team like the Royals. So yeah, he's not going to be on my team. There's just absolutely no way.
I wouldn't pick him up either. Again, I included him, and I knew that people would be like, "What the hell is his stats suck?" Again, he is 16th in AAA among qualified minimum 50 innings starters, which impresses me a little bit at least. But everything else around it is so tough that I understand why people wouldn't necessarily be super giddy on rostering Jackson Kowar upon recall, should he be recalled. All right, let's continue on and talk about Cade Cavalli. Cade Cavalli is 17th. He's right behind Jackson Kowar in that strikeout minus walk rate, basically tied with him, 15.9 to 15.8. We call that 16% for both. He's with Washington. So again, it'd be the Oakland situation of win probability on 0. But does Cade Cavalli have enough upside that if he were called up, you'd be intrigued? 3.82 ERA, 1.18 WHIP. Does not have the same results as Kowar, but does have similar core skills there with the 25% K rate and 10% walk rate. What do you think?
He's got a fantastic fastball, 2 above average secondary pitches, amazing command. I think he's the Nationals' top prospect, though. I mean, after the trade, maybe Hassel jumps in on list, but I would not be surprised if he's still the top prospect, even with Hassel in tow. I think he. The only question on Cavalli is,
we have Abrams above him, by the way.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. But Abrams is in the majors, so
yeah, he'll graduate maybe this year, right?
Yeah.
155 point appearance. He's going to graduate. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But I think Cavalli is an absolute stud if he can stay healthy. The question, he's had a lot of arm issues, obviously, coming up through the minors, and so you wonder how long the arm will hold up. But I think from just straight talent perspective, and I do think he will be up this year. Unlike some of these other guys, like the Nationals have started to promote some of these minor leaguers to kind of give fans a reason to come back to the park now that Soto and Bell are gone. Mm-hmm. So I do think he's going to be up. They may just wait till September, the beginning of September, but I think he's one of the September call-ups. And I think he could be a major impact down the stretch for playoff teams because, I mean, he's got legit skills.
And Cade Cavalli might not get as much hype because of Washington. So if you're not in a wins battle, but you're looking for strikeouts specifically, and then maybe some ratio help could be there too. Don't know how he's going to transition to the majors, but that's what you're looking for with Cavalli, especially if you need strikeouts. He could come up, be an instant strikeout guy. Eager to see what he can do, and I do think Washington gives him the call. He had a 3-level season last year, high A, AA, AAA. This year back at AAA for 92 innings. I think he gets the call. 2020 drafty.
He's got a .29 homer per 9. Like
that'll play.
A guy who's a strikeout an inning right now. So. Yeah, the combination of those two things on it, the team that needs the pitching. I mean, that
oh my god, yes,
ferocious.
Anibal Sanchez is pitching, and I love Anibal.
He threw awesome 5 innings last night.
I know, and he's done some amazing things for them. Like I'm a big time Anibal Sanchez guy, but he's 38. You should not be giving starts to 38-year-olds when you are a terrible, terrible team.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing. That's all. So we'll see. Cavalli should be up at least at September expansion, if not within these next 10 days in the month. Brandon Pfaadt is our next guy, and that is how you pronounce it. It's Pfaadt. Pfaadt. Brandon Pfaadt. And he spent most of his time at AA this year, but he's recently been called up to AAA, where he continues to find success. You're talking about a 28% strikeout minus walk in the 105 innings at AA with a 16% swinging strike rate. Goes up to AAA, only 19 innings so far, ups the swinging strike rate to 18%, but the strikeout minus walk is down to 23. So he lost 5 points off that. But the results have been great in AAA outside of the homers. In fact, homers have been the one thing that's kind of gotten fat this year. 1.6 at AA, 1.9 at AAA. That is PCL. But still, I don't know how the AA plays for Arizona and if that's a high offense environment as well. But he had a 3.2 homer per 9 there in 33 innings last year in AA for Brandon Pfaadt. So again, I can try to look that up when you're talking on Arizona's AA park factors. But he's had a home run issue. Everything else looks pretty good with Brandon Pfaadt, though. Is he somebody who would intrigue you if Arizona gave him a call?
So you're telling me there's a guy who plays on one of the worst teams in baseball, and he plays in a really, really tough division with the Giants, Dodgers, Padres.
The Giants? You're including the Giants in that?
I'm including the Giants.
I don't think so. I have been bamboozled. I did not think so. I refuse to allow that.
He has no overpowering pitch. And
how many overpowering pitches you got, fella?
5. Clearly,
you got 5. Oh, 5. Like Welsh's cutter.
Yeah.
Are you like the Welsh with his freaking cutter that he swears that he has?
I have nothing. I doubt I can even throw 50 miles an hour. Like that's I have no art. I don't want that. In spite of the awesome name.
Okay, that's fine.
I'd rather have his jersey than have him on my fantasy team right now.
So, okay. I did get some clarity on Amarillo, which is where he pitched at AA. They have a 169 home run park factor. So I'm going to give him some push, take a little bit of spice off of that home run rate there as far as putting that on him.
I'm going to put some of it on him because like right now.
I said I'll take some off.
Oh, only 19 innings, so we don't want to like overrate the sample. But we're talking about a guy with a 50% fly ball percentage.
And that's the thing too. So if he is in homer friendly spots, it could be bad. And he's in the PCL right now, and only 3 of those parks are under 100 home run park factor.
Yeah,
Oklahoma City, Sugar
this is
Land,
why teams sometimes skip AAA.
Exactly. Exactly.
But he also does not do himself any favors by not putting putting the ball on the ground, by not by letting guys just try and tee off on it. I don't think the upside is there, especially on Arizona, to warrant this kind of move.
Where's Diamondbacks park factor this year? I'm trying to find that.
They're one of the better pitcher parks in baseball, is as far as I remember.
For home runs specifically, 82 home run park factor is the 4th lowest. So maybe that, getting there fat can cut those homers a bit, but of course, learning on the major league level is also very difficult. So he's not somebody I'd run to, but let's say if he does get called up, it's 15 team. We talked earlier about how
anybody is viable in
flyers.
Yes,
is viable. That is where I would be like, okay, maybe I can get him. Like if at September expansion, a bunch of the guys that we've talked about get called up, I think Brandon Pfaadt would be pretty low on the interest list. So I might sneak him, especially because I'm poor as shit in our league. I got $36. So a $2 Brandon Pfaadt might be what I have to go for. So I would be interested in something like that, where it's a little bit more of like, hey, I'm just taking a long shot. But I hear you on the concerns with the home runs. Some of it is the park factors he's been in, but some of it is his fly ball lean too. So I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to another one here. Back to the high end teams, like we were with Hunter Brown in Houston. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers. Now, my MLB The Show heads are gonna cringe when I say that name, because they do these future stars cards where they basically take a fully formed version of the prospect or how he could be and give us a card based off of that. And the future star Bobby Miller is just owning everybody in MLB The Show. So I just gave PTSD to people by mentioning that name who play MLB The Show. But the fantasy folks should be interested. He's in Double A this year, 91 innings, 31% K rate, 8% walk, 4.45 ERA. I'm not as worried about ERA when the skills are there, and a 120 whip. Finding room in LA isn't as easy, especially with Dustin May working his way back. But Ryan Pepiot hasn't exactly figured out where the ball's going yet. Bobby Miller's 23. That's plenty old enough to get called up. He can skip AAA and come right from AA. That wouldn't surprise me either. Is Bobby Miller somebody? He's a Dodger. Of course, we'd all go for him if he got called up. But are you thinking? Let's put it this way: what are the chances Bobby Miller gets called up by the Dodgers?
He just got moved to AAA, so I don't think he's made a start yet there. But
I have no data for that, so that he will be making a debut soon there.
Bobby Miller, I don't think he gets called up this year because it's the Dodgers and he's not on the 40-man. But if he did, Bobby Miller's a dude. 2+ pitches, good enough, I think, command, good control. Like, I think he is a legit fantasy, future number 2 or 3 starter for the Dodgers.
He's a draft champions pick this winter coming up, I think.
Absolutely. And he, depending on how he performs in AAA, he may be a top 300 pick in redraft leagues. Bobby Miller is a legit dude. I think, again, another guy who's had some injury things go on with him. I think in college, and then and a little bit in the minors. If I'm remembering,
only threw 15 innings last year.
So
you're right.
The question is, does his arm hold up over the long term? But over the short term, rest of the season, if he does get a call, or next year, I think he is a really, really enticing player. And he would vault towards the top of the list in terms of guys I would want if they got the call.
Yeah. Huge fan of Bobby Miller. I echo everything you said.
From a talent standpoint, I think Cavalli is the only one that is above him.
And I think even that's a debate.
And I think you can make the debate.
But
I think Cavalli is just a more polished.
Miller, Cavalli, and then Brown for me. All right. Next up, my Tigers. They can call up Reese Olson from AA. There's no reason they couldn't do that. He's having a wonderful season. He was the return for Daniel Norris from the Brewers. And, he threw 24 innings in AA last year. He had a 3-level season, it was 2-level. It was high A with Milwaukee and Detroit, and then just AA with Detroit. Didn't really do much in the AA sample last year, 24 innings. This year, in the repeat at 98 innings, 33% K rate, 7% walk, 128 whip, 422 ERA. A little bit too hittable at 8.6, although I don't know what the defense is like. It's a 352 BABIP. Maybe the defense is failing him there in Erie, but he's gotten 98 innings. He's 22 years old. Honestly, I'm surprised that the Tigers haven't even pushed him up to AAA, let alone maybe giving them the call, because every starter they have has been injured this year. Quite literally, by the way. Their entire opening day rotation is now on the IL, most with long-term injuries. Eduardo Rodriguez is at least working his way back. But is Reese Olson, again, he put him in that Ken Waldichuk and Cade Cavalli win potential being a Tiger. But would Reese Olson interest you if the Tigers found a way to get him called up?
I think he would interest me a little bit, but it's a bad team. It's a good division, and I think that's what kind of draws me in a little bit. There's plenty of opportunities where you could team stream a guy like that in a deeper format. Problem is, I don't think he's coming up at all. I just don't think there's any reason for them to put him on the 40-man this year. They're getting Eduardo Rodriguez back here shortly. I just don't see it happening. So
if he's going to be on the 40 next year, though, what's the problem? Elvin Rodriguez. Sorry, Elvin. I'm sorry, but
he listens.
I know he does, and that's rude because he's been a listener for years.
Yeah.
So that is kind of dick. Sorry, Elv, but do you really need to be on the 40? Brendan Davis, who's that? That's not a player. You don't know who that is.
He's the brother of Brennan Davis.
Well, I don't
know if that's true.
I know you don't.
I just want to make sure the listeners didn't no, he's not.
Technically that's not true, but does he need to be on the 40? I don't know. So I'm with you. I'm not sure that I think like a Joey Wentz would probably get called up before him.
Yeah,
he's in AAA and he's been up already. He got a couple spot starts a while ago, and he's at AAA. So it's probably Wentz ahead of Olsen. But I wanted to bring up Olsen because he's been pitching well. He's another guy who I could see in late round DCs next year, because I do think he gets his major league debut next year if for some reason the Tigers don't call him up this year. Not if for some reason, because we don't believe that the Tigers will.
If he pitched for a different team, or I would be, in the majors, like I'd be a little bit more worried because I don't think the command is very good. And
that's fair.
So, but the Tigers Park, as we've seen, is a great place to pitch.
It will protect
bad place to hit. So
some issues,
and a great division. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's like a future star or anything. I don't know that I'm going to be taking many shots on him in DCs. I think I want a little bit more upside.
I think Reese Olson could actually be a really big candidate for the bullpen.
Yeah, probably.
As soon as like next year, they might just say, okay, hey, you were starting, you did some things well, but it wasn't quite enough. So to the bullpen you go, type of deal. It would not surprise me. That's Reese Olson with the Tigers. And the last one is a guy we have seen up. I'm not entirely sure why Chase Silseth for the Angels is not still up. I'm sorry, Touki Toussaint. I like Touki. We've talked a lot of positivity about Touki over the years on this podcast, but I'm not sure that he or Tucker Davidson should have necessarily gotten spots over Chase Silseth. I like Chase Silseth a lot. Now he's been up, and he came from AA, and then he goes back to AA when he's not pitching. That part's interesting to me. That they don't
avoiding the PCL.
Yeah, they are completely avoiding that PCL. Like
they don't want to pitch. I think it's Salt Lake City is where they're there.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Pitch them there.
I agree with that. So in 53 innings at AA this year, he has a 32% K rate, 10% walk with a 17% swinging strike rate. That's really good. 2.21 ERA, 109 WHIP. In the majors, it did not go quite as well. 6.59 ERA, 157 WHIP. 9% strikeout minus walk rate. He did have an 11% swinging strike though. So that 19% K rate, as he kind of finds his footing and learns the league, I think the strikeouts will go up. I really like Chase Silseth long-term. I will be drafting him in DC's big time next year. Should Chase Silseth be back up this year though, and get an opportunity with the Angels? What do you think?
Yeah, I think of the list, he might be the most likely guy to get back up here at some point. Mm-hmm. He's already got major league experience. The Angels aren't competing for anything.
They're competing for that first overall pick. No, just
yeah. And are they actually? I
don't think.
Right? Yeah, no. They've got like an 8-game lead on the Athletics, and the Athletics aren't even the best or the worst team in the major leagues, thanks Washington. So yeah, they are in position for like a top 5 pick. So they don't want to win games right now.
Don't compromise that at this point. You've already had the crap season. Don't rally in September. That's so frustrating. I understand teams are going to go out and try to win. I'm not saying to roll over, but you don't have to make a bunch of personnel moves to try to win.
Yeah. That being said, like I think he's just a guy. Like I don't think that Silseth is like I think he's going to be a fine major league pitcher. Like I think he could be like Kyle Gibson-esque, right? Like a guy who gives you a bunch of innings. Some starts are great, some are awful. But the average of it is like, okay, hey, I'm league average, right? Like, and I'm gonna soak up some innings for you. I don't think he's ever a star.
That's rude because I like him and I want you to stay positive.
What about him do you like? Like he doesn't have any
swing and miss.
Overpowering pitch. He doesn't have particularly good command.
I mean that's our scouting report, but why does he keep missing so many bats? I'm wondering if maybe we got something wrong here in the scouting report in terms of the swing and miss stuff. The command, I hear you, but like I see the 45s across the board, and yet we've seen quality swing and miss rates all the way. 17% at AA. It was 13%. Never mind, he had 3 innings at AA last year, but it was 11% in the majors, like I said, which is fine. 22-year-old coming up, getting some swings and misses. So I don't know. I think he's got some swing and miss stuff. I guess where I would really understand maybe some trepidation is if in your concern that LA cannot properly cultivate him too. I think that would be a
I mean, clearly they're going to give him something and get him injured.
Yeah, exactly. No, so
listen, I know you've been remarkably healthy in the minor leagues, but if you could start throwing like this, so that way it puts a little bit more torque on the shoulder,
exactly,
that would be great. Yeah,
this is your new pitch. You throw it like that.
Let me show you the release of Jerill Cotton.
Yeah, no, I think that there are some concerns there, but overall, I think he's got enough talent to be a starter, chase Silseth for the Angels, and be pretty good. I'm not dissuaded by 29.
I think he's kind of a low ceiling, high floor guy. Like I think he's gonna have, a decent, MLB like.
Throws 96. He has 3 pitches. I think you're selling him a bit short, but it remains to be seen. Chase Silseth, I think there's some upside there. I do worry about LA's ability to extract all of that, but I think there's a bit more there than Justin sees. But hey, that's why we play this game. If we all sell it the same way, it wouldn't be any fun. If we knew how everything was going to play out at the beginning of the season, we wouldn't play. But there's so many things that change and differences of opinion. That's what makes it such a fun game. So Hunter Brown for Houston, Ken Waldichuk for Oakland, Jackson Kowar for KC. Neither of us like him. Cade Cavalli for Washington, Brandon Pfaadt for Arizona. PFAADT is how you spell Fat. Bobby Miller for the Dodgers, Reese Olson for the Tigers, and Chase Silseth for the Angels. Those are just some pitching prospects who can get called up. If there's somebody that you've had your eye on that you're waiting for that call up, hit us in the comments or jump on Twitter, Justin Mason FWFB at Spore, and let us know. Justin, what do you got planned for the weekend?
I am exasperated. I am fatigued. I am overworked, and I am going to chill out.
I like it, Stephen A. I think you deserve that time.
We do have an episode with Ray Murphy this weekend, Jason and I. So definitely listen out for that.
Yes, check that out. And again, if you can make it, first weekend in November, Arizona Fall League, it's awesome. By the way, are you leaving on Sunday? Have you made your plans yet?
I'm leaving on Monday.
Yeah, we have to because the game is on Sunday night, the Fall Stars.
Yeah. Jason's not going to be there for Fall Stars.
That sucks. I think a lot of people might, they need to check, and we need to hammer home, and you guys make sure you bring this up on Sunday. The game is on Sunday. The All Stars game. If you want to be at the Fall Stars, which is really the best game, there's a home run derby on Saturday. That's new. The game is usually on Saturday, but it's on Sunday this time. So you should try to stay till Monday if you can. Now, if you want to come in on Friday and go, you got to be really early Friday. The conference starts at 8 in the morning. But you guys will talk about that on Sunday with Ray.
I recommend you get there Wednesday or Thursday.
Thursday if you can. If you can go Thursday and leave Monday morning, that's the ideal for this trip.
Yeah, I'm going to come in Wednesday afternoonish and take off probably early morning on Monday. One, because the flights are cheaper that way.
Yeah, I'm definitely leaving.
But two, I do not want to miss the Fall Stars game.
No, I can't miss Fall Stars, and we're going to go first flight out on Monday then. But anyway, have a good conversation with Ray. Have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you later.
Take it easy.